He stopped her for a moment and asked, "Mother, could you tell me exactly what happened that day?" "Like every other day, I came to this temple for Lord Rama's darshan. While I was circumambulating the temple, some people took out weapons from a large vessel of Chitranam that was placed in a corner. They pointed the weapons at Khadir's throat, ordering the devotees and soldiers to leave the temple, but kept some elderly people like me and some children inside. Until you came, we had no hope of coming out alive," she explained before walking away. The Hekchamanayaka thought to himself, so, the weapons were indeed brought in the vessel that the chief priest brought. If I meet him, I might find some evidence. He then went inside the temple and stood in front of the sanctum. The priest approached and asked, "What is it, Hechana? It's unusual to see you coming for Lord Rama's darshan." The Hekchamanayaka replied, "I came to meet the chief priest of our temple. Could you call him?" The priest answered, "He has not been feeling well since this morning and hasn't come to the temple. Hechana, he is probably at his house. You can meet him there." Feeling something was amiss, the Hekchamanayaka hurried to the priest's house. Despite knocking on the door for a long time, no one answered. He then kicked the door forcefully, breaking it open, only to find the priest and his wife hanging from the roof. Not wanting to enter the Brahman's house, he informed another nearby Brahman family, who then completed the necessary rituals. The Hekchamanayaka felt a deep sense of despair as the only lead he had to uncover the traitors slipped away. When he returned home, his wife, Swati, noticed the sorrow on his face and asked, "Why do you look so troubled?" The Hekchamanayaka replied, "I wanted to eradicate the traitors completely, but I've lost the only lead I had. I don't know how to catch them now." Swati comforted him, saying, "Don't worry. The Lord will show you a way." The next day, he went to the prison again to meet the lunatics chained up there and said, "If you tell me who gave you shelter here, I will speak to the king and reduce your punishment." The leader of the lunatics responded, "No matter how many tricks you try, none of us will give you any answers." Angered by these words, the Hekchamanayaka grabbed him by the throat and said, "Since you won't give us the answers we need, there's no reason to keep you alive anymore." He tightened his grip around the man's throat, but just then, a guard arrived and said, "Commander, listen to me. If you kill them here, it will cause a lot of trouble. Let's think of another way to deal with them. Please don't kill them now without proper interrogation." After pleading several times, the Hekchamanayaka released the man's throat and pushed him back, causing the lunatic to fall to the ground, struggling to catch his breath. As he left the prison, the Hekchamanayaka said, "Yes, it is dangerous to keep them all in one place. Separate them and put them in different prisons," and then he walked away. When the Hekchamanayaka returned that evening, the guards had already separated the prisoners into different cells, ensuring they couldn't see each other. The Hekchamanayaka secretly spoke to one of the guards and then walked away angrily, glaring at the prisoners. That night, they were all served a hearty meal with meat. The leader of the lunatics asked the guard, "Why did you serve us such a good meal when we usually get only millet porridge?" The guards responded angrily, "Just eat what you're given. You'll find out everything later," and left. Suspecting something was about to happen, the leader ate the meal anyway. The next day, when the Hekchamanayaka arrived, the guard reported, "As you instructed, I served them all a good meal with meat. Except for one, the rest of them ate it. Hearing this, the Hechamanaika smiled and said, "Show me who didn't eat." The guard took him to one of the cells and pointed out the prisoner inside. The Hechamanaika opened the door, approached the man sitting in a corner, and asked, "So, you didn't eat the meal last night even though it was served with meat? What's the matter?" The prisoner replied, "Did you think I wouldn't suspect that you might poison the food?" Laughing loudly, the Hechamanaika said, "You guessed right. I did plan to poison you all. Although last night's meal wasn't poisoned, one day it will be. Even if you avoid the poisoned meal, let's see how long you can survive in these cells without eating anything." After saying this, the Hechamanaika left. Once he was gone, fear crept onto the prisoner's face. He realized that they were determined to kill him one way or another. His only option was to escape from the prison if he wanted to survive. But how? How could he escape? The next day, when the Hechamanaika returned, he found that the prisoner had somehow dug a narrow tunnel and escaped from the cell. Seeing this, the Hechamanaika went to the king and said, "It's not good to delay punishment by merely holding them for interrogation. It's time to sentence them for their crimes." The king agreed and said he would pass judgment in court the next day. The Hechamanaika then tightened the security to ensure no one else could escape. The following day, in the royal court, the lunatics, along with Khadir, were presented for sentencing for their attempted attack on the temple. With the public, nobles, and legal experts present, the king stood up and addressed the prisoners. "Why did you try to attack the Rama temple? If you reveal who gave you shelter here, you might receive a lesser sentence for admitting your crime. If there is anything you wish to say about the crimes you committed, now is the time." The leader of the lunatics responded, "Our goal is to spread Islam across the world and establish Allah's kingdom. We will do anything for this cause. We will kill as many people as necessary, and if needed, we are ready to give our lives as well. No matter what you do, we will never reveal the details of those who sent us or who sheltered us here." After this declaration, the king consulted with the legal experts and announced the death penalty for those who attempted to attack the temple, kill people, and overthrow the monarchy. Turning to Khadir, the king asked, "You are accused of conspiring with the lunatics to overthrow the monarchy. Do you have anything to say in your defense?" Facing the court, Khadir responded, "Yes, I made a mistake. Despite the fact that our great king provided me with employment and prestigious positions, granting my family a good livelihood, I betrayed him. Driven by the wicked desire to overthrow the monarchy and replace it with Islamic rule, I conspired against the kingdom. Despite all the opportunities I was given, I acted solely out of religious fanaticism. I deserve the death penalty for what I have done. However, before you sentence me, I would like to say a few things. Many Turuska soldiers are ready to sacrifice their lives to protect the kingdom. Moreover, Turuskas play a significant role in the economic system of the kingdom. Because of the treason I committed, they are all being tarnished. I am the one who committed the crime, so direct your hatred toward me, not the entire Turuska community. Do not despise all of Islam because of the actions of people like me. If you do so, you might drive others to join hands with fanatics like me." The Hechamanaika was right, there are good and bad people in every religion. We should hate the bad people, not their religion. This applies to all the people of this kingdom. This is my only request, he said, before standing silently, awaiting his sentence. After further consultation with the experts, the king said, even though Khadir has rendered excellent service to our kingdom in the past, he has committed treason. To prevent anyone from ever committing such an act again, I sentence him to spend the rest of his life in prison, working in the mines. However, in recognition of his prior good service, if his son wishes to join the military, we are willing to offer him a position once he reaches the age of 16. The king then concluded the court session, ordering the immediate execution of the lunatics and instructing the Hekchamanayaka to oversee the process. Later, the Hekchamanayaka provided the lunatics with a good meal. Regardless of whether they ate or not, they were soon taken, under tight security, to a large banyan tree on a hill near the city of Hampi, where the execution was to take place. Never before had so many been executed at once. Ropes were tied to the branches of the tree, and the lunatics were prepared for simultaneous hanging. Each was placed on a bench, which was pulled away at the same time, causing them all to hang. The Hekchamanayaka and his soldiers remained there, checking each one's pulse to confirm their deaths before returning to the city. Usually, the bodies of the hanged would be collected by their families. But since no relatives came for these lunatics, vultures did what was needed. However, their bones remained hanging for many days, serving as a warning to anyone contemplating treason against the kingdom. For some time, their bones contributed to maintaining peace and security in the kingdom. One day, as the king and the Hekchamanayaka were discussing something, Chikka Veera Narsimha was seen heading out with his bow and arrows in hand. Seeing him, the king said, "Brother, it looks like you're going hunting. Our spies have informed us that Ulugh Khan, angry about the defeat of his men, is waiting for an opportunity to avenge us at the borders. So be careful and don't go near the borders of our kingdom." Ignoring the king's warning, Chikka Narsimha mounted his horse, took a few of his followers with him, and rode eastward out of the city of Hampi. He soon crossed the borders of the kingdom and entered the territory of the Kakatiya Empire. After traveling some distance, he encountered some soldiers of Ulugh Khan who had been waiting for him. As soon as they saw him, they prepared a bench for him to sit on. Chikkavira Narsimha arrived and sat on the bench, addressing Kasim with anger. "So, you thought you could kill Hekchamanayaka and the king and make me the king of Poisala? But those fools you sent got themselves killed by Hekchamanayaka. Can you kill him or not?" "Our Ulugh Khan is asking the same thing," Kasim replied. "When the advice we gave failed, he had his chief advisor fried in hot oil and killed. Now, no one dares to give him advice. They just do what he says. To be honest, the pressure on us is increasing day by day. Ulugh Khan is obsessed with taking control of the Poisala kingdom." With that, Kasim handed a drink to Chikkavira Narsimha. Posted by Sri Krishna and for the next episode of Hekchamanayaka, comment next episode and subscribe my channel. Press the bell icon for next updates. Thank you. See you in next video.